gentlemen, boys and girls, species around the multiverse, welcome to Geek Syndicate, where we do the same thing we always do. What is that, I hear you ask? We are bringing the sass back to geekdom. I am Monts, and with me, as always, is...
Autumn is coming. I'm ready for it.
Is there some kind of threat? Because, like, you know, in Game of Thrones, winter's coming. Yeah, there's the winter people, whatever they call them. I never got that far.
The winter people.
The winter people. What's happening in autumn? What are we expecting?
Ronex, man. Ronex sweaters are back, man.
Is that a villain?
That's me. That's it. I just love autumn because it means I can bust out my Ronex sweaters. They're just waiting up in the loft, man.
Right. You know, it's been a pandemic. You might have, like, I don't know.
What's a pandemic got to do with Ronex sweaters?
A lot of people, you know, put a bit of weight during the thing, and it might.
Wow.
No, I'm just saying you might need to go out and get some new sizes.
Wow. Boy, that's dark, man. Is that how this episode's going to be? All right, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine, man. You know what I mean?
I'm only saying...
If that's the tempo you want to run at, that's cool. I could do that. I could do that, man.
I'm only saying there was some stuff I thought fit really nicely.
You weren't saying that at all, man. You weren't saying that at all.
I've had to invest in a new wardrobe. I haven't really.
Okay. Yeah. To be fair, I won't lie. There have been some pandemic pounds.
Pandemic pounds.
Because this is the problem, right? The problem is because I used to walk into work, and it was about a 50-minute walk into work, and some of that was uphill, and I used to walk in both ways. Whereas now I probably 95% of the time
when your commute is just downstairs.
Yeah, my commute is downstairs, and the worst part of it is I've got one of them smartwatch things.
Oh, just
right, and every so often it will suddenly flash up, and it would just go, "How about a walk?" I'm like, "Wait, or my personal favourite, why not try standing up?" Do you know what? You shut the fuck up and let me do my job. Do you know what I mean?
Why not try standing up?
No, and it even does like a little animated thing of the guy standing up and lifting his hands up. Do you know what I mean? It's dark, man. It's dark. It's dark. I mean, you know, that's not to say the watch don't have a point.
But yeah, but do you need that point made every 10 minutes?
Exactly. If I don't need that. I don't need that level of shame.
I'm well aware.
Yeah, it's there. It's there in the mirror. I don't need that level of shame on my wristwatch.
That's killed me.
You know what I mean? I miss the days when watches didn't have an attitude. They just told you the time.
I love it. I mean? Gonna start a group, Watches with Attitude.
Yeah, damn, man. Anywho.
Yeah. So, all right, let's just jump straight in. Have you got any news?
I've got. Well, it's kind of news / shout out.
Let's do a news / shout out.
Yep. Yep. So my shout out, it's to the lovely Shane Chebsney.
Yay! Love Shane Chebsney.
Who is the driving force behind the ICE comic conventions. He announced that he is sadly cancelling this year's ICE, and he is retiring from putting on comic conventions. Now, this is quite a bit. To me, this is quite a big thing.
Yes.
You know, this is a massive thing, certainly for us, because
absolutely,
you know, I mean, anyone that's been listening to Geek Syndicate since the beginning will know that the very first panel we ever hosted was for Shane at the I think then it was called Bix.
Yeah.
The Birmingham sort of convention. And it was certainly for me, it was one of the most terrifying things I'd ever done.
I remember it well.
But it was also amazing.
I remember your fear. Well.
Oh yeah. And it was real. It was a real fear. But we had a great time, you know, and also Shane gave us that shot at a time where people still didn't really know what to do with podcasts and podcasting in general. And I often say this to people about people coming up to us and sort of going, what's a podcast and stuff like when we used to try and get interviews. And people of today just find it a completely bizarre experience that there was a time when people didn't know about podcasting. And that was Shane, taking a chance on us. And, later on, he let us we worked with him to put together like a load of panels for one of his later conventions and stuff. And he's just been such a supportive guy to us. And he's come on the show quite a few times to kind of talk about comics and, and his own conventions and stuff. And we often would have chats off air as well. He's just a lovely sort of fellow. It makes me sound like I'm telling you he's died, and he's not died. He's still out there, still out there, give it large. But he's basically, for varying reasons, some health related, other financial, and just that fact that we're all feeling the pinch. And the first thing to go is looking at ways to save money, and it will be people cutting back and going conventions and stuff. And he's looked at the ticket sales, and he just can't afford to cover it all. So he's had to sort of sadly cancel. So so that's a sad one, especially like I said, there'll be no more sort of Brum conventions.
Yeah, but just absolutely salute you for the work you have done there, Shane.
Yeah,
it's I think it's changed the. I forgot the word. What's the word I'm looking for?
Landscape.
Thank you. It's changed the landscape from way back, and I know we appreciate it here.
Yeah, because it was at a time, again, when there wasn't a lot of comic conventions either. Because it was kind of like that. I don't even think Thought Bubble really existed it's certainly not in the format it was.
No, not at all.
It was mainly, back then, it was the Bristol Comic Convention. That was like the comic convention. And then Birmingham kind of caught up with that rapidly. And then obviously Thought Bubble kind of came into the mix. So he was one of the sort of big sort of front runners of this latest renaissance of comics. So big up to you, Shane.
Thank you, Shane.
Yes, thank you. News other than that, no, I haven't got news. Nothing that we're not gonna talk about in our main feature. Yeah,
so let's just go straight into the week that was.
Yeah. Can I start with an old film?
Go on then.
So
I know what this is.
Yeah, so I'm actually I'm just gonna look up. I don't even know if he listens. Just give me a sec. I'm still here. Ian Halverson. I want to salute you too, sir, because he mentioned on his Facebook feed that an old film had dropped on Amazon Prime that he'd been waiting years to see. Now, this film holds so many fond memories for me, I can't even. I remember watching this film when I was a kid. This film came out like in the 70s. I remember watching this film as a kid late one night, and I think it was me, Danny, and Norman, my brothers, watched it. I think it might have been all of us. I think it might have been all of us. All of my brothers watched it. And this was Captain Kronos, Vampire Hunter.
Captain Kronos.
Now, for those who don't know, this was a Hammer film. And those people who don't know who Hammer films were, go educate yourself, because they did like a load of horror films back in the day, with your classic Peter Cushing and Chris.
Can I just say, I just did a full cast audio drama. One of the stars of this movie.
What, of Captain Kronos?
Yeah.
Really?
Caroline Munro.
Oh yes, she is in it. Yeah. So basically, the whole premise of this, right, can be summed up in one sentence. And if this sentence doesn't make you want to go and watch this film, then you're dead to me.
Go on.
A master swordsman and former soldier and his hunchback assistant hunt vampires. That's it. That's it. That's all you need.
Yeah, I'm in, man.
And I've got to say, right, I was worried because he was like, it's on Prime. I was like, I don't know, man. It's that thing of this film came out in 1974.
1974, yeah.
And I was just like, I don't know. I don't want to put it on, and it's just going to erode those fond memories and blah, blah, blah. Mate, all I'll say is, you have to take it with a pinch of salt. It's 1974, so obviously the effects and all that, and even the horror angle isn't necessarily that scary. However, the opening sequence opens with, and basically a woman gets it's slightly different because there's a vampire in it, but they're draining women of youth.
Okay.
Other than blood, and what they kind of say, one of the things his assistant says is that actually there's loads of different types of vampire, and the way you kill them are different, and their method of killing is different.
That's just hard work.
Yeah. So I quite like that the concept of that. But anyway, this woman dies at the end of it, and then literally it just switches, and then you just see the music kicks in. It's like dun, 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 and you just see this lone swimmer like riding, like they're chipping across the just across the landscape, and behind him is like his hunchback dude, and he's like lashing the horses, and he's basically riding with like a wagon which has got all the weapons on the back, and that's the opening credits. It's just the two of them riding to this village. It's like dun, 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 dun. And I'm like, you know what, I am in like Flint for this film. And they keep dropping the music as well, which is why I remember it. There's even a bit in there, like in the opening minutes, where they rescue like Caroline Monroe, and she goes, "Oh, you can come with us." And then they hear a scream, and then the hunchback's like, "Oh, it's time for us to go to work." And she's like, "You never did tell me what you do." "Oh, didn't I mention it? We're vampire hunters, professional vampire hunters." Ah! Dun, 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 dun. I was like, this is a film.
I love it. Didn't I mention it?
Tell me you wouldn't want to drop that line. So what do you do? Didn't I mention it? I'm a vampire hunter. I'm a professional vampire hunter. Ah! So it is cheesy as hell, but I loved it, man. I loved it, and it took me back, man. That. Yeah, it took me back. It took me back, man.
Love it.
On the flip side of that, it's not a flip side because I still enjoy it. I know you've seen it, and it's a nice segue because it's also vampires. So Day Shift dropped on Netflix. You want to take that one?
So Day Shift is... let me get up so I know what I'm talking about. So Day Shift is set... Sorry, I'm just laughing already. Day Shift has Snoop Dogg in it, which to begin with, it's about... It reminds me a little bit of... Oh, God, I'm losing my mind. What's it called? Old school vampire movie.
Do you know what the old school one was about?
Vampires.
Yeah, you got to give me a bit more than that.
It's moving to new neighborhoods. Turns out there's vampires.
Lost Boys?
Lost Boys. Oh, thank you. So, yeah, in a way, this reminded me a lot of Lost Boys.
Right.
Just, sunny town, vampires on the loose, people trying to bring them down. Except in this one, it's an actual business. Bringing down vampires is a business. And Jamie Foxx is working the day shift. The day shift. The day shift. And basically, hijinks ensue. Snoop Dogg is a well-renowned and well-respected...
Big John Elliott.
Big John Elliott. Everyone loves Big John. I mean, everyone loves Big John. And he kind of gets... and he has to take... Jamie Foxx has to take an Sorry, let me start again. What I love about this is that Jamie decides he has to step up because he has to pay for new braces and school fees for his daughter. So that's why he starts... So he starts killing vampires, but it all goes a bit wrong when he kills the wrong vampire, and the person who made this vampire is coming for revenge, specifically on Jamie, and so hijinks ensue. And is it? I'll ask you the question, Barry. Is it a good film?
It's an entertaining film.
That's it. I went. Do you know what? That was a waste of time that I thoroughly enjoyed.
Because, and I think that's where I'm at these days. Is like not everything has to be like some Shakespearean level of like excellence.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you just want to. And I watched it on a Sunday. We both had a bit of a rough day. We kind of sat down, put our feet up, and put it on. and my smile came on literally in the opening sequence.
Absolutely.
And my smile didn't go until the end of it. I thoroughly enjoyed it, man. And
Particularly, there's a pair of vampire hunting brothers, and
they don't mess about, man.
they are. I mean, I could watch them all.
don't.
I could watch a spin-off with those two.
I think one of them is a proper. He does
Vampire.
loads of films. I can't think of his name. He's a proper martial artist. I can't. But yeah, it was
Steve
that
Harry,
sequence.
Scott Adkins.
Scott Atkins. That's it. Scott Atkins. That sequence with them two, that was probably like my favourite sequence in the whole film.
That was peak. That was peak vampire killing.
Yeah, that was peak vampire killing, man.
And just like watching two boys who know each other so well, they don't even have to look at each other to get the next move and to back each other up. They know exactly what's going on. And
Jamie Foxx didn't miss about neither, man.
No, I mean, the problem with Big John Elliott is Snoop Dogg is no actor, man.
What I loved about the way that you do was almost like maybe the way I looked at that, right, is almost like if you'd got a gig for either Star Wars, Indiana Jones, or Star Trek, and you just came to me, and you had kind of carte blanche, you had like a big role in it, do you know what I mean? And you went to the director, he's like, look, I got a mate, he'd love to be in this. His name's Barry. He can't act for shit, but can you just hook him up, man?
He can't fight on screen.
Yeah. Can we just hook him up? And like, yeah, sure. I just come down and I just go, do you know what? I'm happy to do this because I really want to be involved. I just want to be the whatever role I am. I want to be the baddest at it.
Yeah, even if you're not any good at it.
Even if I'm not any good, I want to be the baddest. So you know what I mean? If I'm in Star Wars, I want to be the baddest Jedi. I'm not doing none of that saber flipping nonsense, but I still want to be the baddest. And that is basically what Snoop Dogg does. He just rocks up a couple of times. He's the baddest. He does even the weapon they give him is so that he doesn't have to fight no one.
Yeah, I know.
And it's wicked. It's wicked. I love the way they use it.
You got to lean into it. You can't go, Snoop Dogg's a bit rubbish. You just got to lean into it. It's all good.
You know what you're getting, man. If you've seen the Just Eat adverts, you know what you're getting. Yeah. I'd argue he's probably better acting in the Just Eat adverts than in the film.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have no regret. There are ways which you could say this is a terrible film, but I have no regrets for sitting down and watching this film. I would even watch it again.
Nope. Likewise, mate. Likewise. And I think it was a tidy time length as well. I think it was like an hour and a half or something.
Yeah, something like that. Heartily recommend.
Yep. Quality time spent.
Even if just for some amazing action. So actually, while we're talking about action, I also saw a movie. Basically, Barry put the trailer up on the Geek Syndicate Facebook group and was like, yeah, if you know me, you know I'm in. And I looked at the trailer and went, I am so in. And it just looked like a sort of martial arts extravaganza. It's called Carter. Mm-hmm. So have you watched it?
I still haven't seen it yet, actually. I think it's partly after I had a conversation with you about it.
I watched it, and to begin with, the first 15 minutes was like a 50-man naked fight scene. It was like, I was like, okay, didn't see that coming, but fine. But the action in it, the choreography, the martial arts choreography throughout this film is amazing. The problem is. And like the fight scenes, the chase scenes, the car scenes, all the action is absolutely incredible. The cinematography, I think, is very clever. The problem is the cinematography is basically 2 hours of the camera going round and round. And I can look at it and go, this is filmed very cleverly. How they've done it is very clever. But I just feel sick.
Right.
By the end of the movie, I was like, I feel like I suffer with vertigo. Or travel sickness. It's like I literally feel a bit queasy. Watching 2 hours of the camera moving in that particular way. And when we watched RRR and we talked about it on the show, and I was like, every action piece, it's like amazing. How can they top that? And then 20 minutes later they top it, And then half an hour after that, they topped it. So 3 hours went past. You kept going, wow, wow, wow. Whereas in this, it was all brilliant. So for 2 hours, I was going, yeah, this is great. Yeah, this is also great. This is also great. Someone sent me a text, and yeah, that's amazing. Right, what the text say? And it just found my attention wandering because it didn't stop. It was action, 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 all amazing action, but there was no peak.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Just a level playing field of amazing action, and 2 hours was a bit long for that, including the fact that I felt sick all the time.
I was going to say, was it? Yeah, I was going to ask how long was it?
Yeah, because I was disappointed. I was sad. No, I was saddened.
Yeah,
it's more like it.
Because I do think there's something to be said about running times. Because like with the exception of RRR, because and I listened to a review of that where they kind of said this is one of the few films where like it's 3 hours, but I didn't feel like there was anything that was wasted.
Mm.
With Day Shift, right? That film didn't outstay its welcome.
No.
And I feel had that been 2 hours, we might have been having a bit of a different conversation, because I feel the stuff that you need to do to make it 2 hours would have slowed it down too much.
Absolutely.
And it didn't have enough weight for it to be 2 hours.
Can I also just big up Natasha Liu Bordizzo? I think that's how you say her name.
Okay.
She plays a vampire in it, and there's just a scene where she's just going to town with a sword.
Oh, yeah. She was quality.
She was quality. She was one of the best things about this movie. She was quality.
So with Carter, is it worth my time?
I sadly don't think so. I mean, what I would do is go on YouTube, see if some of the fight sequences are on there.
Okay.
Because also there's the plot. I'm like, so what's that? I'm like, spent a lot of time going. So what's happening now? So who's after him now? So why are they? So okay, I know why they're after him, but why are they after him? Actually, who is he? And then the way it ends, I'm not going to tell you how it ends, but you basically go, right, we've reached the end. There's a conclusion of sorts. We're about to find out, oh, no, that's the end. Oh, that's just blown up. So are they going to die? Are they not going to die? So is this how they set it up for a second one? They've just like, it literally doesn't stop. And then the credits roll.
Okay.
I don't know. I think I don't know. If you've got nothing else to do, put it on.
Right.
Although there's always something else to do.
That's the thing now.
I mean, I don't know. Go on YouTube, find some of the set pieces, because the set pieces on their own, I think, are amazing. But I think as a film, I didn't think. Basically, I woke up in the morning and I said to my wife, I actually feel a bit angry that I watched it, that I spent 2 hours of my life watching that.
Right.
Because I feel, and it's not because it was rubbish, I just felt because it should have been so much more. Anyway, and I resented the fact that it finished and I felt queasy. Do you know what I mean? So
okay.
I don't know. Go look for some of the fights.
Oh, I might have a look, see.
Because they are amazing. There's no two ways about it.
So have you? Because there's so many things that have been out and about. Like there's a trailer for Andor, which is a new Star Wars one that got coming. There's obviously I've watched Foundation and the Sandman, but I kind of don't. In some ways, I want to talk about those ones because they're the ones that everyone knows about. Do you know what I mean? You know, Sandman's out. You know, Foundation's on Apple. Blah blah blah. But a show that I haven't really heard a lot of people talk about is called The Lazarus Project. Have you heard of this?
I'd have not.
So this was on Sky, so I caught it off Now TV.
Okay.
So basically, this is centered around this guy who he basically lives for a year, and then the year resets.
Okay.
And and then someone basically comes to see him who also has lived through that year. Who knows?
It's interesting. It's a whole year because usually they do it like by a day.
Yeah. No, it's a year. And what she tells him is that she's part of this top secret. I'm going to read the blurb now, but she's part of a top secret organization which is dedicated to preventing mass extinction events.
Okay.
with the ability to make time go backwards. And the way she described it was almost like save points in a game.
Gotcha.
So it's almost like, so it's like if they discover that, I don't know, like we're about to go to say World War III was about to kick off and they've already launched missiles at each other. What this organization could do, I think they call it Code Black or something, and basically they roll time back a year.
A year.
And then they spend that year trying to get themselves out of that situation. And if it works, they then move past that point. And it's almost like then you like reset the jump clock type thing. And then you're into that next year. And obviously if anything kicks off in that next year and you do that reset, it's to the start of that point again. Do you get what I mean?
Can I read a review of it?
What do you mean, can you?
I'm gonna read a review of it.
Okay.
Someone put, at last, Sky's putting a really good series worth watching. Ignore all the bad reviews and the idiots who bang on about woke this and woke that. Ignore those who say there's no character build. Their individual stories unfold as each episode builds to its crazy end with a good opening for at least one more season.
Yeah, maybe
this series requires your full attention and commitment. If you have a short attention span, don't bother. Watch adverts instead. If, on the other hand, you're up for a good, well-written story with good acting, a decent script, Bond-like excitement, some dry humour, and some very human dilemmas thrown in just to mess with your head, then do not miss this. Wow.
Mate, I loved it. I loved it. I don't know why more people aren't talking. The wokeness, I'm guessing that they're coming from the point of view is that the main character is a black guy.
Okay.
And
oh no,
it's quite, he's quite a diverse guy. But forget that. Do you know what I mean? It's a really good time travel thriller. And some clever stuff that they do with time as well. And some horrible things that I would...
looks like I'm signing up to now.
No, I'm trying to... I know... Because actually I watched it and I thought of you and I thought, I don't know. Because one of the storylines is kind of centered around child
Baby
death.
loss?
Yeah, baby
Yeah,
loss.
okay.
And it's quite... but what I'll say is it's... And I'd be interested to... If you did watch it, I'd be interested to see your take on it because it's kind of like a motivator for a particular villain.
Right, okay.
But the way that they do him and the villain, he was in the Musketeers. He was I think he was Athos in the Musketeers.
Okay.
But when I say villain, I put it in speech marks because he's like a rogue agent. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And they go, yeah, he's the worst. He's best. But when you understand why he goes the way he does, I'm like, you know what?
Fair dues,
mate. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, I get where you're coming from. F them.
No, I'm well up for it because what's interesting for me is I realised that 8 years down the line after losing Grace, I don't know, it's a very different place that I'm in. Whereas before I'd be like, you know what, I can't deal with that right now. Whereas I feel like I'm in quite a different place to take those things on now.
Okay.
So it's interesting.
In that case, I would definitely
like I can afford another streaming service, man. Why do that to me?
Have a word, man. Have a word with Ant-Man or Bucky. Do you know what I mean? Because it's really good, and I don't know how, it's only something like, I think it's like 6 or 8 episodes as well.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and the reviews 100% right. There's some quality like one-liners in it as well, and dialogue, and there's some real dry humor in there, and some good action as well. And like I said, the way they use the reset point, you know, there's a great story where it's just like they just can't get it right, and it's just constantly resetting. But what you realize as the story goes on is when they're doing things like that, they've actually affected other characters and they haven't realised that they've had an effect on them.
Right. Oh, man. Okay, you know what? This is in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, I think you'd like it, man. I'm hoping it's got a second season as well because the way it ended.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the other thing I'm going to mention, which I don't... And it's not... I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because it's not really in our wheelhouse, but it offends me that people aren't talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Is Only Murders in the Building.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that. I love that show.
It is so good. And I suppose it isn't. It's a like crime series about podcasters. I
That's
mean,
definitely in our wheelhouse. What are you talking about?
All right. Enough said. I can't.
So this stars.
Why are people not talking?
This stars Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez. Yeah, and basically they're like true crime podcast fans, and then they kind of stumble across a murder in their building, and then they basically start their own true crime podcast to investigate it. That's like the plot of season 1.
Yeah.
And absolutely loved season 1. Started to watch season 2, and I have to say I was unsure because I got I watched the first episode and I was kind of like, and I've got this whole thing at the moment about sometimes when you've done a brilliant first season, you've
just leave
it. So I was a bit worried about that, but we kind of stuck with it. And then all of a sudden I was like, I'd forgotten how much I liked this show.
It's just the style of the music, the style of it, the way the narration happens.
It's got heart as well.
It's got heart, yeah.
Which is missing from a lot of shows nowadays. Are so, they're so bleak in showing you like just the bleakness of everyone and how everything's just like screwed up and blah blah. It's just nice to watch a show where it's just. And it's about murder, but it's also about friendship. There's just so much more.
And it's funny without the funny being obvious. It's kind of like it's character based humor. It's just
If memory serves me right, the first season had a whole episode from someone's point of view who was deaf.
Yeah.
Was that? Yeah.
Yeah. No, second. Yes, no, it was.
It was first season.
So it was pretty much a silent episode.
Yes. Yeah.
It was fantastic.
Yeah. So if you've not watched this is on Disney.
No, yes, it is on Disney.
Yeah.
And the second season's just wrapped.
Yes, I finished. In fact, this is why it's in my head because we finished the second season yesterday.
Yeah, me too. We did as well
with a cup of tea and a slice of chocolate cake. That's how you watch it, man. That's how you watch Only Murders in the Building, man.
No, mine was a banana muffin.
We literally sat down and was like, "Do you want to put the kettle on?" Yeah, I just get
a cup of Earl Grey and a muffin.
I think what's nice is we were going to store them up.
Yeah.
But we couldn't do it, and what we found is we actually enjoyed.
I've got to a point where I'm finding it hard to hold on to things. So binging for me is great, but there are some things that just work this way. And I think what helps is that it's only like half an hour each episode. So
it's not. It's about 40 minutes, mate.
Is it okay? Do you know what it is? It just feels it doesn't feel very long.
There's no fat on it.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah,
you're right.
I thought the finale was really good, and the setup for the next season was good.
I found that this season, second season, they swore a lot more, and I noticed it because there are some shows people swear and you don't notice it because it fits. And there was a lot more swearing from a lot more people that just seemed to like be there.
Yeah.
And I thought when I start to notice the swearing is for me is when I go, what? Why are they suddenly swearing so much?
Yeah.
And I think it's because when they didn't swear so much, when they suddenly start swearing, it feels a bit out of character.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, not all the time. And I think that's why there were sometimes it happened and it was like, yeah, that's just okay, that works. But sometimes it's like I feel like you're swearing for the sake of it now. But it was just something I'd noticed I was sitting there thinking it, and Siobhan was like, "Why are there so much swearing suddenly?" I went, "Oh, it's not just me then."
No, you know what? Now that you say that, I did know. To be fair, most of it tended to come from, I think it was from more Selena Gomez and external characters than say like the two older dudes. But no, you're right. I didn't really take me out of it, but yeah, I hear what you're saying.
But anyway, by the by. Anyway, essentially, why this is another one of those things I don't understand why more people aren't talking about it.
No.
I think it's because when we were kids, you had no choice. Everyone was watching the same stuff anyway.
Yeah, at the same time, and then you'd come into school or wherever and you'd chat about it.
Whereas now, it's like, if you say to someone, they go, so where is that? And you've got to try and remember, is it now? Is it Netflix?
Yeah.
Is it Chevy? But anyway, people, do yourself a favour. Get yourself some Only Murders in the Building.
Yeah. And quickly, and then we'll get onto the main, have I mention Surreal Estate to you?
No.
Right. So I'll say this really quickly. Surreal Estate is on the Sci-Fi Channel, I think it is, and it's about a. So obviously in America, they're real. Is it real estate agents?
Yeah,
Or is it
yeah.
real agents? And obviously over here it's estate agents. But basically, it's
A real tour.
yeah, realtor. Basically, it's about a real estate agency that take on haunted houses.
Okay.
And the concept of it, which is great, because it's an actual like. It's a drama. It's not a. I thought when I started to watch the trailer that this was actually going to be some stupid reality show.
Okay.
But actually, it isn't. It's actually like a proper TV show, and the whole concept is there's lots of houses out there which are like haunted or have got some kind of weird energy to them, and people find them difficult to sell. And that same concept is true in reality. You know, if you've got a house where, like, you know, there's been a murder there or something like that, people don't necessarily. You have to declare it as part of the like house sale or whatever, and people are more reluctant to buy those sorts of houses. But the whole concept of this is these houses are actually haunted,
Right.
like spirits in there and stuff like that. And these guys go in, or guys and girls go in.
Does it kind of fill that space left by things like Haven and Eureka and stuff like that?
Yes, I'd say so. I really enjoyed it. It was really enjoyable, and it was almost, to me, it was almost a little bit like, what if Ghostbusters went into real estate?
Do you know what? I mean, that's what you need to say, really.
It's light, it's easygoing. It's a similar vibe to Only Murders in that it's got a nice vibe to it. Each of the, you know, and all the people that work there got a kind of skill. Like one guy, he's like an ex priest, but he's like their research guy. And there's another guy, he's like the inventor, and he kind of makes all the weapons and all the equipment and stuff. And like the main guy who runs the firm, he can basically see ghosts and kind of talk to them and stuff like that. And it's all centered around their new hire, which is this woman that comes in, and she's known for she's like a great real estate closer and stuff. And they kind of bring her in, but she's got her own sort of secrets going on as well. Yeah,
Okay.
it's fun, man. It's just fun.
Okay.
You know, I'm all about some fun, man.
Okay, I'm in that. Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Just, oh man, stop adding stuff to my list, damn it.
Sorry, man. So before we talk, we just get on to our main. We'll do comics next time, people.
Yeah. It's time to talk DC.
DC.
Nice.
Screwed.
Right, so what's brought this on is the fact that Warner Brothers commissioned a Batgirl movie, and that Batgirl movie was made. It was in the can. I don't think they'd finished post-production on it, but it was made. You know what I mean? The cast and crew had done their job, and they cancelled it.
Yeah.
And so many things were like, why did they cancel it? It was going backwards and forwards. There was a couple of theories. But the one that seemed to come out of it was that they thought it was shit.
Well, I mean, that was one of the things. But also, as well, it's just part of a larger issue, is the fact there's because there's like a merger, wasn't there? And there's this concept that what they're saying is that they're changing strategies in terms of how they look at things like HBO Max and like DC Universe. And
they want to refocus on theatrical releases.
Yeah. And apparently there's something else I read where they were saying they looked at their demographic, and they're saying like their demographic is like much older or something like that, which I'm not so sure about. And also as well, I think one of the things they were saying was that dropping Batgirl was a bit of a tax dodge.
Okay.
Like a tax write-off or whatever. That's one of the things I was hearing as well, like to save the money or something. But also what I'd heard was it was supposed to be that bad that
I was just reading here. It's like Joss Whedon was hired in March 2017 to write, direct, and produce the film.
Wow.
But left the project in February 2018 after being unable to come up with a story for it.
You got to come up with a Batgirl story.
I mean, there's, you know what I mean? Even if you can't come up with anything yourself, there's a whole heap of source material. I mean, there's decades worth of source material to choose from.
I would argue that a lot of the so-called original comic films that people feel that are original, a whole heap of comic fans could point you to the series of comics that they've heavily mined for inspiration, as I put in air quotes. Because WandaVision was effectively that Vision comic was it by Tom King?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it's not the same. It's not exactly
very
the same,
different, but there's so many elements of that.
The influences are there to be seen. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah. Go on.
I was just going to say, but go on, say what you were saying, because I think...
I know more recent news is they were doing, which I was really looking forward to, HBO Max was doing a new Batman animated series. It's just called the Cape Crusader, which is going to have some of the same creative team that did Batman the animated series, and that's now been cancelled.
Wait, okay, so this was one thing, yeah, interfering with the sort of live action thing is one thing, but now you're interfering with the animated universe, because in my mind that was one of the places where DC was excelling.
Yeah,
and I've kind of lost track of what's going on, to be honest, because life. But that was working, and like we've spent years going that actually the cinematic people and the TV people need to talk to the animated people because they've got something going on.
Yeah,
don't be messing with the animated universes now.
I think a lot of people are just worried now that, like, is this going to spell the end for like a lot of the animated stuff? Are they going to start, looking at the comics? I don't even know what the score is with DC Universe. I haven't even.
To be fair, I'm quite out of it. But I remember that when Warner Brothers really took over in force, there was a whole heap of worry, which, as far as I can tell, hasn't really gone away, that they were going to get to a point where they were actually going to close down the comic stuff or just use it to mine it for TV and movies.
Yeah, that was what I heard.
And I mean, the feeling that you get is that, so given that, the feeling that you get is that they're not really that interested in the comics as a medium in and of itself, which is a little worrying.
I mean, there's a similar vibe, as much as, people are at the moment focusing on what's going on at DC, but there's a similar vibe with the Marvel stuff, because I saw something that Shane had posted on his Facebook where I think it was after She-Hulk dropped, and he'd posted something somewhere. It was a link to some She-Hulk comics or whatever. And anyway, there was like a Marvel automated bot or something, and that deleted the link.
Oh, okay.
And I think the concept is like they basically don't want to be taking the focus away from their like TV shows and films. That's concerning, isn't it? And again, I just think that both of them, the Marvel Cinematic Universe must make like gazillion dollars. You know what I mean? So why isn't that money being like pumped into the comic scene? Some of that money being channeled to the comic scene, because it's not.
We were saying earlier about economics talks, and if they don't see the comics as bringing back a return on that investment, then from a purely capitalistic point of view, why would they?
Yeah. I suppose from the point of view of almost like the more investment they're making it, the more they'll be able to like put out more comics, and which is going to like bring more comic writers, more artists, which is going to generate more content for them to mine. Being again putting on that kind of business head.
Let's move away from the business head, because I've got a question for you. So let's just assume that everything's hunky-dory and that there's lots of money to develop DC films, TV, whatever. What do you think their plan should be? I mean, so what I'm thinking is, do they emulate Marvel in trying to make this joint universe, or do they just focus on individual movies, each one telling a detective story or a romance story or a supernatural story, and not try and link it in with anything else? Do they? What do they do? What do you think should be their way forward?
My answer to that is like the the shared universe train has sailed, man. Sailed. The shared universe ship has sailed. Stop. I think the problem is they keep second guessing themselves, and they keep and
Yeah.
whenever they do that, we get this kind of massive shift. You know, suddenly we get a DC Universe app, or suddenly like we're getting shows getting cancelled left, right, and center, or suddenly like, oh no, we're not going to do Zack Snyder, the Snyderverse anymore. Do you know what I mean? And they just constantly second guess themselves, and I kind of think that stop trying to be Marvel. And I don't mean it from the point of view of like, because you can't be Marvel. Well, you can't, because they're Marvel and you're DC. So but what I'd like to see is when they've kind of focused on some of their solo projects, like the Batman, which just come out, or even whether you like it or not, like the Joker film, they seem to be more successful because they're trying to do something a bit different. And I think the problem is like Marvel have kind of got they've got the superhero format down, and there's both a blessing and a curse in that, I think. And what I'd love to see DC do is more solo projects, more obscure characters. Stop just focusing around the same.
Well, it's why I'm excited for Black Adam. When I suddenly realised they've got some old Justice Society people in there who people will never have heard of.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, nice. That would be something to explore. I'm quite excited for that.
Yeah. But it's like, I'd like to see them do, I don't know, man, and I kind of put this out to Marvel as well, just something different.
Well,
like,
that's why I liked Peacemaker and Doom Patrol, because it was such a radical departure.
But it was like you put that idea out, and I think I've seen that idea floating around a few times. But the idea of like doing whether it's a TV show or a film, where it was Clark Kent is like a really good reporter. He is a really good reporter. That's the whole concept. He's supposed to be a really good reporter, but Clark Kent's is really good reporter, so much so that he kind of uncovers some conspiracy, which means the CIA got to take him out, and they send like a load of hitmen after him, but they don't understand why they can't kill him.
Yeah,
and it's because obviously we know it's because it's Superman.
Make it a comedy
and make it a comedy. I'm like, I'd be all over that.
All over that.
All over that.
I'm laughing just thinking about it.
Yeah, and I think that's the sort of stuff I want to start, and from both companies, that's what I want to start seeing. I want to start seeing more different things. And I guess to a certain extent, that's kind of what Marvel are doing with a lot of their TV shows. They are trying to do different things and they're appealing to different types of people and stuff. But I don't know. I kind of want to go a bit more radical than that. Also, what I want to start seeing is more other comic properties.
Yeah.
Properties. I mean, I still what I'd really like to see in a perfect world is for them to be actually pumping money into like comics.
Yeah.
You know, I would. It's not like they can't. It's not like they're going to miss the money. Do you know what I mean? And that's not happening.
Actually letting the world know there are other properties other than Marvel and DC.
Yeah, and I think sadly, you could have your cake and eat it. You know, you could have all these great films coming out and all the rest of it, but you could also have like a great comic scene as well.
I think I don't know what was I finding interesting the other day. I just started to see. I was reading up on different threads, and few other people had sort of tagged me in stuff, and I was reading up and reading the comments, a lot of comments, and what I saw again and again and again was people going, "I love Marvel, but I just feel a bit marveled out, so I'm not like, I really want to see the new stuff, but I'm not that bothered about going to see it in a cinema because I just feel a bit more." And these are people who are going, "I love it, but it's just too much for me."
Yeah, because I think that was the thing. I saw that, and it was like someone had sort of dropped the amount of films that have been. I think there's like 4 Marvel films coming out next year,
Mm.
and a whole heap of TV shows. And what they were saying was it's no longer the kind of like event that it used to be. Because you're right.
Mm.
Before, I remember when they said announced Avengers was coming. That was like an event.
Yeah.
Whereas now we're at a stage of it's just business as usual. And I'm not necessarily saying it's a bad thing because I'm still loving having all this geek stuff to watch. But it's whereas I find when DC announce something, that feels more of an event to me now.
Yeah, no, you're right. Actually, you're right. Like I just said, yeah, Shazam. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and honestly, bringing it full circle, we round up. I mean, it could be awful, but damn if I don't want to see that Batgirl film.
I know so badly.
So badly want to see it, man.
So maybe this was their plan all along.
If they launch a Kickstarter, I'll put a tenner in.
I'll put $7.50.
Do you know what I mean? Get it just to get it over the bed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I just think on the face of it, you had Batgirl. I saw a couple of like shots, but she looked alright. You know, you had Batgirl. You had the same Commissioner Gordon from the Snack Zyder films. Is that J.K. Simmons?
Yeah.
You know he's going to be quality. You had Michael Keaton coming back to play.
And you know what? I think you said this, or someone said this. It goes, you're worried about it not being great, but Steel is still out there.
That was I said that. Yeah, I know.
And Catwoman.
Do you know what I mean?
I mean, Catwoman, arguably the worst DC project ever. It's still out there for anyone to see if they want to. It can't, you know what I mean? Put it out. Make a little bit of money back. Do you know what I mean?
And to be honest, if you're going to turn around and tell me that this film is as bad as those 2 films, hell yeah, I need to see that.
Absolutely. You know what I mean? Not putting me off.
That's not putting me off at all, man. So essentially, we haven't really answered the question. We don't know what the future is of DC.
I think the one thing that comes out for me is they just need to stop second guessing themselves. They just make a decision.
Yeah.
Make a decision and just double down a little bit.
Yeah, and you do, and they have done good stuff. Do you know what I mean? I feel that's the thing as well. They have done good stuff, but they tended to be their more the solo thing. And I just feel that.
I mean, saying that, the Snyderverse stuff. When I was going to watch the Snyder cut of Justice League, and I watched them all in order, pretty much back to back over a space of a week. Watching it like that, I went, whoa, this is ambitious. This is great. On their own, I enjoyed them. But together, I was like, there's an ambitious plan here, and I like it. It's not what I wanted in the first place, but I like what it's becoming. Then they change their mind.
Yeah.
And then they change their mind again. And then it's like... Oh.
Yeah, and I think some of that is just because of all the backlash. And we could go around and say, people already know some of our thoughts in those films and stuff like that, and the backlash and all that sort of stuff. But I still stand by, like, at least man was trying something different.
Yeah.
And you got roasted when you were basically doing the same, and then you got roasted when you were trying to do something different. So you could almost see, like, you know, some of the more creative people at DC go, "What do you want from us?" We gave you something different, and you didn't like it. You gave you the same, you know, because effectively, you know, Superman Returns was pretty much a carbon copy of Superman. They even got a dude who looked like Christopher Reeve, and people roasted that film. I mean, I really enjoyed it, but at the same time, I was a part of me. It was kind of like, it just feels a bit like I'm watching Superman. You know what I mean? The first Superman movie, you could have done something a bit. He was better in the crossover they did.
Yeah.
They brought him back as an older Superman. He was better in that than he was in Superman Returns. Do a Kingdom Come movie. There's just I don't know, man. I don't know. I just think that when DC get it right, when they do get it right on the TV stuff, they really do get it right.
Yeah, they need to stop putting stuff on CW, but there we go.
Yeah. That's a
station altogether.
Day, man. Right, do you want to round this up, buddy?
All right, you know the score. Let us know if you think we're talking nonsense or if you think we're onto something. You can do that by dropping us a line at thegeeks@geeksyndicate.co.uk or on our Facebook group or on Twitter or on Instagram even. Come find us. We're around. If you think that you like what we're doing and you want to donate to it, then check out our Ko-fi. Is it Ko-fi or Buy Me a Coffee? I always get confused.
It's Ko-fi.
Ko-fi or Patreon pages. Again, easy to find. Just look for Geek Syndicate. Yeah. So until next time, Geek Syndicate.
We out.